Regis Prograis. I'm a former two-time world champion, 140 pound WBA and WBC champion.
And then let's start right from the start. What's your earliest boxing memory?
Earliest boxing memory, bro. Probably watching the fight. I don't know how old I was. Maybe I know which fight it was. I was watching the Gotti one time, and maybe it was maybe it was like a Gotti versus Mickey Ward, one of those fights. And I think I was maybe like 12 or 13. That was like my earliest boxing memory. And then after I started watching boxing a little, I started watching like highlights and stuff. ESPN used to have highlights, and I was watching that. Then one day I was like, I picked up on Mike Tyson, and I just loved it, and I kind of fell in love with it. And I feel like that was kind of my earliest boxing memory.
And do you remember when you first stepped into a gym and what the feeling was like then?
Yeah, man. So I first stepped into the gym when I want to say 16, and man, it was like I loved it. When I first stepped in there, I remember, yeah, I was in high school. I was in the 10th grade in high school, and I went to a boxing gym, and they worked me the hardest I ever been worked in my life. And I played all kinds of different sports, but nothing ever was like boxing. I mean, the work we did in that gym that day, that first time, it was just like it was crazy. It was incredible, and I was like, damn, this is real hard work. But I loved it.
Yeah, do you remember any sort of standout parts of your amateur career or any sort of career that you had earlier before turning pro that you thought that this was really for you?
Yeah, well, the thing is, so I had like kind of two starts, so I started kind of in New Orleans, and then Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans, and then we all had to leave, and so I went to Houston, and then after that, then when I got to Houston, I went to like a real boxing gym. When I was in New Orleans, I didn't really go to a real boxing gym. It was like I kind of just trained myself in the basement of in a house, and so then I went to Houston. I really started, and I was like, man, like the main thing, I just kept going. I wasn't the best coming up. They had people way more talented than me, but I just wanted to just keep going. That was my thing. I just kept going, kept going, kept going, kept pushing, and I saw that hard work and consistency was way better than talent, and so that's why I just stayed consistent with it.
And then you mentioned the move from New Orleans originally, obviously the devastating event that happened there, but you've spoken quite candidly and quite openly about it, about the sort of what it put you through and how it's
Mhm.
changed your life. Can you just explain a little bit more about how that event happened and what really changed for you?
Um, oh yeah, Hurricane Katrina hit. That was 2005. Now it was 20 years ago. It's crazy, but to even think about that. But it was 2005 when Hurricane Katrina hit. I was in the 11th grade at the time. And for me, it was like the best thing that ever happened to me because I did want to when I was coming up, when I was younger, I did want to be an athlete. I always wanted to play sports. I just saw myself doing that. And but boxing is not New Orleans isn't a city for boxing. Boxing isn't really big in New Orleans. So then I just always felt like, man, in the back of my mind, I was like, man, I do have to move. If I do want to be a fighter, I do have to move. I have to figure out a way to get out of New Orleans. And I guess God kind of it's a bad thing to say, but I guess God kind of did that for me. And then I got displaced. I moved around a bunch of different cities and different houses and stuff. Then I went to Houston, and I found Savannah's boxing gym, and man, like I just kind of took off from there. Like after I went to that gym, it was like I knew this is what I wanted to do. I seen the culture, I seen all the people, and I seen not only so it's always a difference, man, when you can see people that actually made it. You can feel and touch those people. It's one thing to look at them on TV and read about them in articles and stuff, but when you can actually be next to these people, it just does something to your mind. And I was at the time when I went to Savannah, I was 18, and at 18 you still a child, and just going there and seeing people that actually are champions, or unified champions, and at the time when I went there, Holyfield was at the end. He was at the end of his career, but he was in the Holyfield's the only 4-time heavyweight champion ever. And I'm like 18, 19, training alongside Evander Holyfield. So when you do that, it does something to your mind. Like, all right, I can do it too.
Yeah, well, you say obviously it was a devastating event, and obviously, and you said, but it's nice to see that sort of the silver lining that could possibly come out. And as you said, God had a plan for you and sent you through this and sent you through to Texas and finding out. And then obviously you landing right into Holyfield's gym. It sort of it worked all
Right.
worked out quite sort of
Yeah, it worked out. It worked out real
almost
good for me.
perfectly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I've been reading The Last Bell by Don McRae, and in the start of the book, it mentions about your messages and emails between him, and says that you're a massive avid reader, and that's all
Yeah,
you did when was box and read when you moved. Can you
yeah.
just sort of tell me a bit more about your love for reading and where it came from?
I don't, honestly, brother, I don't even know where it came from. I just started reading. When I was in school, I never liked school. I'll be honest with you. I never really liked school. I started reading kind of when I left school. So I think I read if I'm not mistaken, I saw or read an article. I heard about it was an Olympic athlete, and I don't know who it was. I kind of forgot, but it was an Olympic athlete, and I think that person wanted to improve what he did. He said he's gonna replace watching TV with reading. And at the time, at the time, TV was high. We didn't have at that time we didn't have social media, so that's I was like, you know what? If I want to do it, I'm gonna do the same thing. So I literally replaced that, and I watched. I kind of I looked at my schedule and I saw how much TV I was watching a day, and I was watching maybe like 4 to 8 hours of TV a day. So I was like, man, let me just if I just do that and put reading, do that and read, and I started doing. I saw improvement. I saw so much improvement in my life, like automatically. I just kept seeing improvement. So I was like, and I kind of fell in love with it, and I just kept reading and reading more. And I was a, if people don't know, I used to be a personal trainer, at LA Fitness for like 6 years. And so every time I wouldn't like if I didn't have a client, I'll be in the gym. I either work out because I know how to time manage real good. So when I didn't have to work, I would just work out or I would read. That's all I would do. So and it just in the love for reading just kind of it just kind of expanded. And I don't know. I do like to learn. I like to learn a lot of stuff. I like to just know different things. I guess I'm kind of nosy. I get that from my grandma's side. She's nosy, but she's nosy about people. I don't really care about what nobody has going on. I'd rather read and find out things about, just what make me better. So yeah, bro, that's what I do. And I still kind of do it to today. Now it's a little different. I do have a wife and kids, so I can't read, 7, 8 hours a day, but I do still try to read like every day. I still try to knock down books after books as much as I can.
And how does the reading sort of parallel with your boxing? I know that you in that same article or in the book as well, it said that you sort of read to help with your boxing. You were a master of the game, studying the
Mhm.
game. How did
Right.
that sort of parallel and how did that help?
Really, I mean, just both I think on both levels, on the mental side and the physical side. On the mental side, when you're reading about people, you read, and I read, I mean, so many books about so many great fighters from Ray Robinson to Henry Armstrong to Joe Louis to Oscar De La Hoya to Manny Pacquiao to Holyfield to um George Foreman to I mean, if you get the list goes on. I read a bunch of different fighters, and when you read about these fights, you see what goes in their mind mentally before fights, how they was preparing for it, and not only that physically, like and give you an example. Like one thing I read about Joe Louis that he used to when he ran with hand weights. And that's just something small, but it's just something you can catch on to. So I feel like that's kind of what helped me. And you see a lot of similarities in people, and then you see a lot of differences in the other fighters also. So you see like all right, all the fighters might do this one thing, but then some fighters might do different things. So that's why it for me it was always beneficial.
Yeah, so you can sort of like go through the whatever fighter's doing and sort of pick out little bits and what works for you and what works for you and your team and how you can set yourself up. And obviously the knowledge from people beforehand probably works wonders for someone like you that was growing up even a little bit late to the boxing game.
Right, exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It just did. It helped me a bunch because you see, like I said earlier, you see a lot of similarities in the fighters, but then you see a lot of differences with some fighters will do differently. So for me, it was yeah, it's just something I just always did, and I always caught on to it.
What was your sort of goal in boxing when you started? When you were starting out, what was your personal goal?
Oh man, to be honest, my personal goal was so small, man. When I first started, I just wanted to be the best fighter from New Orleans at the time. And then I surpassed that by whatever. I think if I'm not mistaken, I know. Well, right now I know I'm the only two-time world champion ever from that city, and now I surpassed that, but I still want to go. But that was my personal goal, and then I was like, you know what? that's when I was just an amateur, and I was like, all right, I want to go pro, and I set that goal, and then after that, I was like, all right, I want to make this certain type of money. It's like, all right, I set that, and then it was like after that, all right, I want to become a world champion, and all those things came so fast for me. I did all those things really fast, and then it was kind of like easy to me. And then it was like, all right, but then I lost the belt, and then when I lost the belt to Josh Taylor first time, it was like, all right, now I want to be a two-time champion. So I had something to work towards, and then I did that, and now I'm on the same path right now. I want to be a three-time champion because I feel like I do have to have goals. One thing I always did, man, like when I had the belt. I kind of never really I think I took my foot off the gas. But I'm always hungry. I feel like I'm always hungry as a challenger. Like coming back and being that underdog with a chip on your shoulder, I feel like I'm always hungry when I have that.
Yeah, and you obviously mentioned that loss to Taylor. Is that how you sort of go about recovering from a loss? Is just set a new goal and set your aim to the man that's on top?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, it's just set a new goal. That's all. Like I said, when I have the belt, it's like, all right, what I mean, and everybody is different, but like for me, when I have the belt, it's like, all right, I did it. I'm the champion. Like what's next? So I have to have that goal of all right, I'm trying to be there again. I'm trying to be a champion again. But when I have it, it's like, whatever, it's I'm the champion. So what you gonna tell me?
And then we'll go back to when you won your first world title. What was the sort of feeling that you had going through it? Obviously, you won it by finish. Does it make it feel a little bit sweeter when you win it in such those sort of circumstances?
At the time, bro, I knew I was gonna be a champion. Like it was nothing in my mind that was gonna tell me I wasn't gonna be a champion tonight. I knew it. It was already for me. It felt like it was already written. So it didn't even matter how I was going to win. I knew I was going to be a champion. I didn't have no doubts in my mind about that. The same thing the second time when I fought Zapata for the belt the second time, I knew I was going to win because I just wanted it for so long. So it's the same thing now going into this. It's like I feel like when I do get the opportunity to fight for the belt again, I know I'll be a champion again because I'm just the stuff I'm doing now is preparing me to be a champion again. It's not like when I was a champion the second time I had to wait 3 years. So I the all those three it was 3 long years. I just worked and worked and worked, and I knew all right. Once I fight for the belt, I'm gonna be a champion again because I'm working too hard. It's the same thing right now. I'm working so hard, and I'm not working for my next opponent. I'm just working to be a champion again. So when I did every time I fought for the belt, I knew like I know I'm gonna be a champion.
Does it sort of play on your mind? Obviously, your three losses are to the elite of the division, and outside
Hmm.
of probably the three, maybe a few others at a push, you're probably comfortably the best as a two-time world champion. Does it play on your mind that those three are sort of there, and does it frustrate you that you would you want an opportunity to maybe avenge those losses? I know Josh Taylor's just lost recently. Is that something that's on your mind, potentially going back there and going and avenging those losses?
With the Josh Taylor, the only loss I would want to avenge really is the Devin Haney fight. With the Josh Taylor, I feel like it's not really nothing to avenge now because I think Josh Taylor is on the downside right now. I don't think he's gonna. I mean, it'll just be a fight. Just I think if me and him do fight, it'll be a fight for just to make some money. That's all. But it's nothing really to gain from it. At the time, I still feel like I won the fight, but he won and he went on to become undisputed. Congratulations to him. But it's not really. I don't know. I don't see it being a big fight right now. Unless it's just for if we can make. Of course, if we can make a lot of money, then we could do that. Um, the Catterall fight. I honestly, bro, the whole thing with that, bro, I never looked at. Well, it is a loss. Don't get me wrong, it's a loss on my record, but like I was winning the fight so easy, literally just with my lead hand, my jab hand, and I twisted my ankle. Then after I twisted my ankle, that was it. I kind of just had to fight him, and it kind of went downhill. So, I know, of course, it was a loss, but for me, it was a loss because I twisted my ankle. The only fight that I would want to like get a rematch is like the Devin Haney fight, just because like he beat me. He literally just he beat me easily, basically 12-0, and like I wasn't that. Just the whole camp, I just wasn't. Basically, mentally, I just wasn't right. So that's the only one I would want to kind of get back. I feel.
Do you think that potentially after Haney in his current situation, maybe after the Garcia fight, do you reckon he's gettable in the sense that this is probably the perfect time to take him on?
Um, Maybe you could look at it like that. Maybe. I mean, the thing is, he's still gonna like. I think after the Garcia fight, like, bro, he's he's more scarier. He's gonna run around even more. We saw the fight with Ramirez, and he just like really just ran around the ring. So it's like I'm not really interested in fighting a style like that. But I see what you're saying. But I'm not really interested in fighting a style like he just gonna run and run and run around the ring all the time. I'm not really nah.
You want someone that's going to sort of sit there, go toe to toe with you, and
They don't have
push you as
no,
much as you can.
not necessarily go toe to toe. It don't have to be like that. No, I'm not saying make it a brawl, but I wouldn't want to fight somebody that just run around the ring, just nonstop all around the ring. You gotta just chase them and make it real boring. So I wouldn't. I don't think I'll be interested in that. But like I said, we'll see what happens.
And then this weekend, Jack Catterall, the guy that you fought, he fights Harlem Eubank this weekend. Have you got any thoughts or any advice to either of the fighters that sort of from your experience or any thoughts on the fight in general?
Not really, bro. Honestly, I don't even know. Is that Eubank? Is that one of the Eubanks? Is that one of the
Yeah, yeah.
brothers or
It's
something?
I think it's Chris's cousin.
Oh, a cousin. All right. Yeah, I mean, no, I don't have no advice or nothing. Like I don't even know who it is. Yeah, I guess I'll watch it, but I'm not really. I feel like I'm not really interested in it. But I guess of course I'll see the highlights and stuff like that on X.
And then obviously you're out of the ring at the moment. Do we have any news of your return
I do fight.
and any of
I
the
fight August 2nd.
details?
Yeah, I fight August 2nd. Yeah.
Do we have any idea
Still
of an
wait.
opponent yet? Or
We're still waiting on the opponent, but yeah, it's August 2nd. That's literally a month from now. It's July 2nd. So yeah, we a month out. I've been in Vegas. That's why I'm out here now. I'm in Vegas. I've been training. I've been training camp out here. So that's what I'm waiting on. August 2nd.
cool. And then one last one for me. If you had one piece of advice for anyone that wants to get into boxing or is in the boxing world, what would it be?
Consistency, hard work and consistency. That's the thing. Like what I've seen over the years is, bro, like the talent doesn't go nowhere. Especially with boxing. It's like um it's just you have to be consistent, like, and I mean, when I mean consistent, like consistent with the work and consistent with the sacrifice. That's what a lot of people don't realize. Like I think a lot of people, maybe they might work hard and maybe they might work hard, but they don't want to sacrifice as much. But you have to do both of them, but you have to do it for a long period of time. That's the thing, and it really is a hard thing to do, and that's sometimes I did earlier. I struggle with that, because yeah, I want to have a life. The thing is, when you do box, when you a professional fighter, you have to sacrifice for a long. It's a long sacrifice. It's long. It's lonely. It's just that's what it is. And you really can't have a life. You can't have a life like your friends. You can't do certain things. It's just if you want this, if you really want boxing, sometimes you might think it's not worth it, but in the end, it will be worth it if that's what you really want. So my message is to be consistent, work hard. Of course, everybody does work hard, but the hardest thing is about working hard consistently for a long, long period of time. I mean, you talk about being consistent with something over 10 years, and when you put it like that, that's a lot. It is. It's a whole lot to do.
Yeah, and you spoke about the sacrifice there. How hard is it sacrifice, especially when you've made your own family now, and then you've got to go away into camps and then into fights. How hard is that? Does that play on your mind ever, or is that a case of just sort of that we're in work mode?
No, it does. It definitely plays on mine. And so this is the first, honestly, bro, this is the first time I did a camp away from my house, like the full camp. I haven't been home in, a month, and then I still have another month to go. And I don't, I mean, I talk to my kids on, it does make it easier. You can call your kids on, the FaceTime and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just not around. And give you an example, like, so, and then in boxing, sometimes the fights just might cancel. So last year around the same time, I was in camp out here. I was in Vegas, and my wife Brazilian, so they went to Brazil. My wife and all the kids, they went to Brazil, and they was out there having fun, and I'm out here stuck in Vegas and I'm training, and I was miserable. And then the fight got canceled. With the first time me and Catterall was supposed to fight, the fight got canceled. So it gives you like it show you example like the type of sacrifice you have, and then sometimes it might not even work out still. So but it is, bro. It's real hard to be away from your kids' family, but it's like it's what we all do. As an athlete, it's just what we all do. But it's harder once your kids start getting older and older. I saw that Fury does it. Usyk does it. I saw one thing I thought about, man. Fury, um, I heard that he stayed away from his family for 3 months, and he didn't hear a peep out of his wife. He didn't talk to her at all, for 3 months straight. So it's like, damn, if he could do that, I still talk to my wife. I still talk to my kids on the FaceTime, but he didn't talk to them at all. But I think that does when you do that, it does play something mentally. It kind of messes with you, because you're really not a you're not a normal human being when you do that. It's like you kind of ignoring your family and all the stuff that's going on over there. You can't be a part of it. Like, and another thing with the sacrifice, bro. Like my son 11 now, and like literally maybe like five his birthdays I missed them because of boxing. Like, so that like kind of play on you mentally, because time is one thing you nobody can get back, so you doing all that stuff, and it's like, man, sometimes you think, man, is this really worth it? Because all right, I missed my son's birthday, I missed this, I missed it. There was on vacation last camp, and same thing again. My last camp I was in camp for Duarte, and um the fight, same thing. Well, the fight got canceled because of me. I hurt my neck, but my kids and wife, they went skiing in Colorado or something like that, and then I had to miss that because I was in camp, I was training, and then I hurt my neck, so I couldn't fight. So it's like those things, they do play a big part. And it's like sometimes you think like, damn, is this really worth it? Like missing all this stuff. I have to miss everything, and birthdays and vacations, and you're not around, and sometimes the fight don't even happen. So yeah, it does play a big part.
Does it get a bit harder as your kids grow up? Obviously, you said one of your kids is 11 now.
Mhm.
He sort of would be knowing what's going on and knowing why you're going away, and a bit more easy to understand it. Does that make it harder, or does that make it sort of easier on them?
It makes it harder. It definitely makes it when they older, it makes it harder. When they're young, they're not gonna remember stuff. Because I have a 4-year old, 8-year old, and an 11-year old. So on the 4-year old, she not gonna really remember too much stuff. But the 8-year old and the 11-year old, I'm missing a lot of stuff. My kids play sports. My kids and all kinds of stuff. I miss my son. The bad thing, my son, he the oldest, but he gets it the worst because I'm all some his birthday is October 20th, and I always around that time I'm either always in training camp, always fight, like something's going on for his birthday. So I have to miss his birthday. They do sports, I have to miss their sports. Same thing, my daughter, I missed their graduation. I missed a lot of stuff because of this. So it does get harder. Once they start getting older and they start realizing, like it really does start to get a little harder.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you speaking quite honestly and quite happily with me about the sort of struggles, because I think people don't realize, people think that you're going for your 12 rounds and or your 10 rounds or whatever, and that's your work done. But people don't realize the sacrifice away from sort of outside of the ring, in your training gyms, and what people do
Mhm.
towards that. And I think it's frustrating, as an outsider looking in, that people don't realize the sacrifice that you guys have to put out there.
Right. Yeah. It is. It's just a whole lot of sacrifice. Just being away from people. It's like, yeah, you're being away from your family, your kids, everybody. You just like lonely. You just in the gym with the people you're in the gym with, and then all right, you fight, and sometimes I mean, the main thing, bro, you gotta it's all about like falling in love with the process. You can't really don't think about the end goal, the end result. You gotta fall in love with the process, the everyday, the grind of every day, and that's kind of what I'm falling in love with now. Again, it's like I'm falling in love with the process. Not It's not about the end result, because I know I'm training my ass off out here, so I know the end result. I know whoever I fight, it's gonna be what it is. I'm gonna do my thing. But it's like now it's just about falling in love now with what I have going on every day. Is like the grind, the daily grind of just killing myself every single day, and I fall in love with that. So it does make it a little easier, but at the same time, it's still hard because life. It's like life passes you up, basically. Sometimes life does. It's like I'm out here for 2 months, and all kinds of stuff could go on at home, and I'm missing all that stuff. So everything, whatever's going on at my house with my kids, with my wife, and my parents, my sister, my nephews, like all that stuff happens, and I'm out the mix. I'm not there. So it does. It's hard when it comes to that.